Hey, hey, hey. Here we are, back again, 2023. Nice to be back. Of course, we, left for a little while. We came back and some technical things have changed with our streaming setup and, it happens. I'm glad, looks like most of you have found your way over from the other YouTube event to this YouTube event, and we're all together. Hey, what's up, Martin Crockett? Netrunner. Martin Crockett, thank you very much. That's right, we are 30,000 subscribers now. Feels good. Hey, yo, Luminous Cloud, Manuel T. Fontanals is here. Just a few people to get started with the chat today. Welcome back. Thomas is hanging out with us. And yes, thanks to everyone for your patience while we figured out just what the heck was going on between Restream and YouTube. I don't know. So let's get into it. Jan Andesfits, Emmett J, let's go. Welcome everybody, it's me, John Selway, back for another Techno. Actually today, Electro Saturday, brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School and 343 Studio, our subscription thing. You know we do online classes, in-person classes, we teach music production, we teach sound design, composition, arranging, songwriting, music theory, all the things you need to get started on your musical making journey. So, wow, I feel like, after a long break like that, coming back in, it's a little bit like rusty, like got to learn how to ride the bike again. Actually, you never forget how to learn how to ride a bike, right? You always know how to keep your balance. So I guess mentally I get a little thrown off when technical stuff throws up and, you're like, I was just making this cool beat and now I have to deal with the stream not working. But hey, we'll forget about that. Who cares? And as mentioned in the intro there, in the lead up there, that we are at over 30,000. How many? What's the actual number? I can't see the stream right now, so I don't even know the actual number. But we're at or over 30,000, and that feels great. We're really glad people are out there responding, watching the content, enjoying what we're doing, and caring to subscribe. So if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, let's help tick that number up a little bit more, and you'll be informed. You'll see what we're doing, and right now, I'm the one live streamer that 343 has on a regular basis. That may change in the future, but we are focusing on doing more edited content, kind of tutorial-oriented content. Some of what's been going up lately are like edits of my streams, which is, cool, because sometimes we'll do the stream and we'll come across a cool idea and we'll say, hey, let's point that out and make it available separately so people can kind of dive right into those details and not have to listen to me yammering on for 2 minutes about how the stream wasn't working. So anyway, yes, thanks to everyone for your patience. Thanks to all of you who have been following along all these years. Thanks to any new subscribers. If you want to know more about our courses, check the link below. We have, you can link to our website for our in-person courses in New York, and there is also our location in Berlin, and any online courses we have going on. I'm actually starting a couple of classes very shortly. I've got a new online course, the Making Techno, kind of like the beginner sort of introduction to making techno course that we've got going on online that meets 3 times a week for 2 weeks and is a little bit more affordable than our big courses. We've got another synthesis and sound design course online at the end of the month and in person here. So I don't know, there may still be spots available if you're interested, if you want to kind of nerd out with synthesizers with me and some other people that like to nerd out about synthesizers and sound design. We'll be all doing that together here in the synth and sound design course very soon at the end of January. All right, enough. Who else here is in the chat? Well, it looks like still nobody new, but what are you all talking about? Oh, yes, Luminous Clouds mentioning Opal. Yes, this new Max for Live thing. I didn't get it yet. I saw it. It's on my list. We're gonna do that on the stream when I get it and learn how to use it. But I like how it's. I mean, first of all, those guys that make Opal, this developer is great. He makes some of the coolest Max for Live devices, I think. And there's a lot of interesting, it's got this kind of clean, pure sound. There's a lot of FM synthesis and related types of kind of sound design elements. But yeah, the interfaces are amazing. And this new one has some sequencing that sort of, it seems to be similar or inspired to some of the Electron hardware-based sequencer ideas with like parameter locks and things like that. So definitely want to look at that. What I'm going to do today, I said, we're making Electro today, or thinking about making Electro today, and I'm sure we've discussed Microtonic before. Microtonic, is a really great drum synth plugin that's been around for many years, actually. I've used it since, the mid 2000s pretty much. And it's a really great synth. And then over the holidays, they released this free script, which is really, really, really cool. And that's one of the interesting things about Microtonic is that it's customizable. People write scripts for it to add functionality. In addition to it just being a really cool multi-timbral drum synth sequencer, beat creator, they have this Patternarium website which generates patterns, right? What happens if I press play? What's gonna happen? Will you hear it? No. doesn't, oh, there it goes. Right, so they have this patternarium which generates sound patterns and sounds for the microtonic, and you can vote on them. People vote on them, right? And people have been using this for years, randomly or not so randomly, I don't know, some kind of algorithm generates these beats. And let's go to another one. Right, you see, you can kind of hear what it does, right? And then, let's get out of there. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So basically what they did is they took all this data from the patternarium and analyzed that and created a new script that lets you explore different rhythms and generate these different rhythms and even sounds really, really quickly within microtonic. And of course, now I've just accidentally closed my microtonic window. So let's go back there and read a little bit about what it can do. You can kind of see this interface there. It's a graphic interface, and you click on one of these little dots there and move it around in space, and it creates these different constellations. And then as it does that, it generates these patterns, which I've had a lot of fun playing with it, and we're going to play with it in just a minute. But yeah, you can read here. Each point is a drum channel in microtonic. There are 1,000 times 1,000 unique points. So like a crazy number of variations possible. With every point contains a sound and pattern data for a channel. Those form a constellation, which is an 8-channel beat, and that's how many channels microtonic has. And then you have different ways of manipulating that. And then these can be, you can generate beats and then save those directly as presets, as either a sound set or the rhythmic pattern or both, right? And so that's what I've been playing around with. Let's take a look. Actually, I already generated a beat earlier. This is what microtonic looks like. Let's go over to the main view here so we can see a little bit more. Normally microtonic is sort of silver. They've got there's some skins you can load up to create different looks, and let's check out how this sounds. And like, microtonic has always been a really good synth for making electro. I think some of you probably have it already, or already using it, or you know about it. And, you know, I did not program this beat. This beat was, I discovered this beat. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Like, it's not randomly generating patterns. It's creating, you know, this beat space script is creating permutations and combinations of existing rhythms. It's a neural network that was trained on patterns generated from that patternarium that I just showed you. And that thing's cool on its own, right? But anyway, and so the neural network has generated these patterns based on what it was trained on by the patternarium. And then there's an interface, all right? Let's go over here to the scripts folder. This isn't included with microtonic. You got to get microtonic, install it, and then they have an installer for the scripts that are available. And that will show up in this little puzzle box icon here in the upper right. If we load up BeatSpace, now we have this window of, you know, it's like a galaxy, or a nebula, more like a nebula, right? It doesn't have a spiral. And you can think of all of those different points. They're like individual stars in a nebula or something. And each one of these circles is a different sound and pattern. All right, so now right away it replaced the preset that I had earlier that I generated. So it's completely different now. And I don't know, let's try moving around some of these dots and hear what happens. All right, so it's not making electro right now, it's giving me a steady kick drum. All right, let's get away from that kick drum. There we go. Syncopation. We need syncopation to make an electro beat. pretty fast, right? Like right away, I kind of slid into this interesting, more electro syncopated groove. All right, so that's just moving things around. You can kind of see how the individual elements sort of relate to each other, and depending on where you move them around in these sort of clouds of different colors, you'll get different results. You can also randomize, and this is actually, I find randomizing consistently sort of comes up with more diverse results more quickly. Like sometimes it'll come out sounding perfect or interesting right away. Other times it'll just be kind of whatever. And then, you know, since you don't have a total perfect control over the rhythm, right? Let's pause that for a second. You don't have to use all the drums at once. We can mute or solo individual elements. You can see here on the bottom it says Alt is solo. I mean, that's the Windows key, right? Is that going to be... Yeah, that's going to be Option on a Mac. And then Command will mute. And that's just temporary. Right, so it only solos when you click on it. And then when you let go, let's do the opposite. Let's mute. All right, the mute holds on. The solo doesn't hold on. The mute actually latches. All right. Of course, you can also go out of the beat space and mute it. Manually up here on the upper right, you've got mute buttons for each channel. And it kind of tends, it tends to move between like quarter note, like kick drums with variation, to more electro-like broken beat kind of stuff. And you can kind of smoothly move between them. So the way I've been thinking about using this is to just generate not just full loops like this, full drum grooves, but individual instruments that I can use separately, right? So I might come up with a pattern in beat space that I like, that has elements that I like, but maybe like the kick drum isn't great. So what I'm going to do here is, and what I already have set up is Microtonic has a multi version. There's a version that has just everything through stereo out. And then this is a version that has every drum sound on a separate channel. So I've gone here. You know what? Let's go back. I want to load up the preset from earlier. Right? Because I like this one. All right. And I've got, you know, here's Microtonic on a MIDI track. And that's whatever that quiet drum is. That's what's on channel 1. And then I've got a few more, you know, I've got another audio channel for each other output of, you know, the rest of the 7. And then I have the audio routed from Microtonic Multi, and then each one, I have each track set for each output. So this one's track 2, this one's track 3, and so on. And so that way I can record each drum separately and then use them separately and reconstruct and arrange them or combine them in different ways, right? So I'm kind of looking at this as a really fast way to generate lots of content that I can make tracks out of. And on top of that, another thing that I was playing around with is you know, this is separate from Beat Space. Microtonic has this sound morph slider. And what happens is if you load up different sounds or modify sounds, depending on where this is, like let's say if I move the morph position all the way to the left and then I go in and tweak some settings, or I load up a different set of drums entirely, and then I move it to the right, and then I have a different set there, then I can interpolate between them and morph between them. So, and actually what I did was I had the sound morph set over on one side. I generated the pattern with beat space. Then I moved it over and generated another pattern. And then you can go back and forth between those. Or if you don't want to mess the pattern up, you can go down here and open a new drum patch. So that's going to keep the pattern but change the sounds. And that's another thing I always liked about Microtonic is you can save a preset that combines the sound set, what the synths are doing, right? And the patterns in the sequencer below, or you can save them separately. And that's great because like you can make a beat and then hear how your beat sounds with a bunch of different other drum sounds really easily. All right, but let's hear what it sounds like when I morph this. Right, so it's like, as if you had macros, you had a macro controlling all the parameters of every synth at once. And, it's how it sounds, that's going to do, you're hearing the pitch changing, you're hearing it sounds a little bit more exaggerated. You could do this in a more subtle way, or you could have only, if you do it one at a time, each drum one at a time, you could have only some drums morphing and others not. But I just thought it was fun to just play around and randomize some things and see how it goes. Let's check in with the chat a little bit and see what you guys are talking about. Jose Pedro Folhadela. Hey, I've been watching your techno tutorials. First time watching live. Hey, Jose, thank you for being here. Glad you enjoy the tutorials and welcome. Glad to have you in the chat. Who else is in here? Emmett J, did I say? Yeah, that was the Let's Go guy, right? And Luminous Cloud mentions, I have the PO32 Tonic. Wish TE would make a full, Teenage Engineering. It's like the Microtonic in a little pocket calculator, right? A full hardware version of this would be amazing to do everything this could do, but like in a big box with knobs on it. I mean, that's what this kind of looks like. They just need to make a hard piece of hardware that has this on it. And it would be amazing, I'm sure, if you're hardware oriented. Let's see, who else is in here? Karsten Becker, welcome. And hey, UK Strength, glad to have you back. And all right, let's get back to making some, let's just record some stuff and tweak some stuff and play around. And I guess I just need to make a bunch of beats today. And then, another time take those sounds and then start constructing them into a track. Alrighty. Yeah, Bad Looks is saying, I would definitely buy that hardware. A Microtonic box, I would buy it. Totally. There's some functionality here that would be difficult, though. Because it's a plugin on a computer with a network connection, we've got like the patternarium and all of the strict scripts and stuff like that. You wouldn't be able to do that to the same extent with hardware. It needs a computer to do everything that the plugin can do. But a limited version just for performance, sure. Even a controller, like a custom controller for this would be great. Just for performing. Okay. Let's play some beats and play around and record some stuff. All right, so I need to arm all of these tracks. And if you didn't know it already, the default in live is for exclusive track arming. So normally you can only arm one track at a time. But if you hold down the command key on the keyboard, then you can do multiple. Or you can go into your preferences and disable exclusive arming, and then that will be the opposite. It will always let you arm multiple tracks, and then in order to arm exclusively, you hold down commands, right? But anyway, that's a live thing if you didn't know already. Let's record. Should I do loops or should I record into the arrangement? See, that's another thing. Maybe let's just record let's just do clips. That way I won't be running on into like 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute long recordings that I have to go back and edit. I can just record scenes. And yeah, let's do it that way. Just get all these going. Now let's see, is this gonna work? If I hit another scene, is it gonna start recording in the next slot? Yes. All right. No, it's gonna stop. Why did it stop? That's annoying. Do I need to remove stop buttons from my group? Let's see if that's what's doing it. Nope, that's not gonna do it either. All right, that's annoying. All right, what that's making me think is, unless there's something I'm forgetting about how recording like this in the session view works, it's going to be actually easier for my workflow if I record it into the arrangement view. So let's go back to that idea. I'm going to undo. Can I undo all this? Right, don't need those clips. Keep everything armed. Yeah, I don't mind doing a little editing work. We'll just record into the arrangement view. I just got to remember to stop and start again to get different clips. If I want to, I can kind of think ahead. Like if this is one loop. Right? And now I have these recorded. I can go in and now we're not hearing them now, obviously, because these tracks are all set to monitor in, or most of them were set to monitor in. Let's play around a little bit. Get the beat space open. Right away, I like that. I like the deep 808 kind of rumble happening. So I'm just going to record it. There it is. Right, I was thinking that hi-hat, shakery hi-hat, was really resonant. It was a little bit harsh. So I just moved it over a little bit and got something tighter. Now let's see, where's that kick drum? There it is. I don't want to mess with that. I want to keep that. You know, it'd be good if they added a way to lock some of them and move other ones. So like you could keep the beat part the sounds and beats that you like, and then randomize everything else around it. But I'm not going to worry about that too much, because I'm capturing all of these separately on different tracks, so I can use them independently and mix and match them later when I'm arranging. What's making that weird little wobbly sound? That's the kind of clanky snare-like thing. There's this tom. Okay, so that kind of wiggly pitch is happening in this cool shaker sound, which I like. I'm not sure if I like the woo 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 thing that's going on. All right, so that's 2. Let's see if we can go in and figure out what's making that sound I don't like. Yeah, it's the oscillator, right? So pretty much all of these drum synth voices have the same thing. You got an oscillator and a noise generator, and it has different kind of modulation. Anytime you hear something tonal, it's going to be the oscillator. It's got some kind of, it's doing random modulation of the pitch, and that's why it was wobbly, because it had a lower modulation rate. But let's speeding it up helps. Increasing the amount of modulation is making it more noisy. Okay. Let's hear what happens if we morph this. I don't know what's on the other end. That could be an interesting arrangement move that I can edit in later. I guess the way this is set up, it's making me want to just keep recording and play. I mean, you could even think about arranging, if you practice, you could arrange a whole beat from beginning to end with transitions just by playing around with this carefully. Of course, you want to be careful, because as soon as I open that beat space thing again, it's going to totally change it. So, if you grab this, if you're playing around with this, remember to save presets. Remember to save patterns. So I like this beat that's happening right now. It's kind of more breaky and groovy than like a sort of mechanical electro beat, but we're still in the same universe, right? Breaks and electro. Let's go ahead and save that preset. And I'm not in the mood to create clever names right now, so I'm just going to say it's Electro and then put a 2 on it, because earlier I didn't put a 2 on it. And if you want, you can also go in, as I said earlier, you can save drum patches separately. So I can make this a kit that I can load up to play other rhythms if I want. And the same thing with the beat. But I'm just going to keep it simple and save the patch with both together. All right, so let's go over here. Different sound, same rhythm. And let's see what happens. I'm going to load up a different drum patch. And let's pick something that's a little bit more like straight ahead. By category, by package. The vintage tonic kits. These are like emulations of classic drum machines, and they kind of get as close as they can. Actually, no. Let's randomize. This is another fun thing to do with Microtonic. All right, that's weird. Back to our original beat, right? So all right, I want to do like a more subtle morphing variation with this. So I'm going to try this. Let's save. We already saved it, right? What happens if I revert to saved? All right. Browse for drum patches. You know, all right, let me just stop here. I'm kind of losing my way a little bit, getting lost in the peculiarities of how Microtonic works and what I want to do. Let's check back in with the chat a little bit. I think we're, based on our late start time, we're just about at the halfway point of the stream today. Of course, this is Selway's Electro Saturday on 343 TV, brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School here in New York City and in Berlin and online. And you guys are part of this. You're part of the community here, those of you who tune in every week for the stream. And again, we're psyched to be over 30,000 subscribers now on YouTube. Thank you to everybody for that. Let's see who's anyone new in the chat. Kozeps is here. Dry Desert, what's up? Lance Glasgow is here. Aaron 303, finally caught a live one. Yes, that's right. Glad to have you in here. And you guys are talking about hardware. James Lauer is talking about that. Electribes, yeah. I used to have one of those lying around somewhere. I don't really have much Korg stuff right now except for my Minilog. And yeah, RJ's commenting about this plugin. Love it. Amazing. So many community loops. Yeah. And just the whole thing now they have the beat space generating patterns and then the whole patternarium thing, which is amazing. It's just a really fun plugin to be creative and especially if you like very synthetic drum sounds, which if you like electro and techno, you like synthetic drum sounds. I used to use this a lot. There's some stuff I did with Christian Smith in the like 2000s that was sort of like, I won't say it was minimal, but there was a time when there was this sort of transition from harder techno to minimal and deeper techno. And we would make like big, heavy tunes, for like big room techno tunes, but that had little bloopy elements in it that were a bit sort of minimal style. I would use the Microtonic a lot for that. It worked really well. And it always sat like in a mix, like it would really stand out in a mix as a kind of a distinctive element. And I would say that the same for other sounds from Sonic Charge. They have a distinctive flavor to them, like Simplant. Simplant is just, when you put that in a track, it just sits in the mix in an interesting way. And sometimes even to the point of being a little difficult to mix. with other sounds somehow. You gotta like EQ it right and use effects and things like that. Cool. What else are you guys talking about? Oh, right. Netrunner saying you have a folder with over 3,000 patterns and presets for this. So yeah, just going back over to the Sonic Charge website, you know, when you go to the downloads for Microtonic, right? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of preset sounds and patterns available for Microtonic. This is where you get BeatSpace. It's part of the scripts package. So yeah, there is a lot of stuff out there. And then again, going to the Patternarium, let's see if I can find that real quick. This thing is amazing, right? So this just generates patterns and you can just literally drag them into your DAW and play them right away. Actually, let's see if that even works right now. I know it's going to mess up my beat though. Right, you can download it straight to your hard drive. But I always thought, like, can't you just actually drag it? I forget. It's been a while since I've used it. But yeah, you can easily get this straight into your Microtonic. Here, I'm gonna download that one, and then go back over to the Microtonic, and it's totally gonna lose what I just did here. But who cares? Let's open preset. Go to my downloads folder. Where did it go? Date added. There it is. There it is. Just this randomly generated pattern from the Patternarium. I might as well record it, right? Since that's what we're doing. All right, that's enough. Actually, no, we'll play around with it a little bit. All right, some of them are a little too hot. You can see it's clipping. I don't care, by the way, if I don't hear distortion when I'm recording something. I mean, it'd be different if I was recording vocals or live instruments or something, but a sound like that, it's not really clipping. This thing's recording 32-bit float internally. There is no clipping unless you're like, you can't get loud enough to clip with one sound, basically. So who cares? We'll just turn it down. That just randomly happened. It looks, oh, I see what I did. Something to be careful about. I had my automation armed when I was recording in the arrangement. So any tweaking or changing to presets I did in the record while I was playing around with the Microtonic, all of that's saved now. Probably next time I do this, I will make sure not to have automation arm on, so it won't mess my sounds up. Let's actually, I got to go and delete all these now, right? And then we'll go back and explore a little bit more, make some more sounds, make some more grooves. All right, that's better. All right, again, as soon as I open BeatSpace, that was just automatically good. We need to record that, right? Now let's start playing around with it. Get some variations. You can also click on the pads to see what's what. Right, that longer, sort of more 808s sounding kick is good to get some variation there, shorter or longer versions of the sounds. All right, no, that doesn't sound good. Sometimes it'll generate sounds that are not great, and you can just ignore them or mute them or whatever. Or just try to fix it. Right now I'm just playing with it. Remember, all of this is getting recorded to audio, so I can go back and find the part that's different and edit that and do whatever I want with it. Okay, let's try morphing it. What? There was something that happened with the bass there that was really crazy for a second. I know this sounds like a bunch of random craziness right now, but it's just raw material, remember? I like it when it kind of does that on the zappy snare kind of sound when it was pitching up and down. It's kind of cool. And just imagine this plus effects. And that's another reason why I have it separated out into different tracks, is I could be processing these different things. Like, you know, that's an okay sort of clean 808-like kick, but what if I want to punch that up a little bit? I don't know, we'll just throw a drum bus on it for now. Keep it simple. Some kind of resonator on that, or reverb, just a reverb actually. Let's throw a hybrid reverb on there. Try some presets. I like that short one. Oops, didn't mean to replace it. Another thing I was thinking about is layering this with more typical drum samples, or, you know, using this as a starting point to, you know, give some kind of weird, quirky, bleepy electro grooves, and then go in and throw like an 808 or some other drum kit that you like to use, and having it kind of go up a notch in energy. I might try one of these, I don't know, we might try one of these sort of trap-oriented tracks that I use sometimes to make electro with, that are from a live pack. All right, you can't hear those. Let's see if you can, like, I'm not gonna use this as if you were, right, but they're they're these like thick, modern, processed kick, snare, hi-hat kind of sounds that you hear. It's like a shortcut production-wise. You know, when you want those kind of modern knock sort of a feel to your drums, but also in an electro context, these sounds work great. Yep. All right, I don't need the loop. I don't need that stuff. Let's turn my preview on so I can hear what I'm working with. Okay. Simple 8th note hi-hats. A little loud, right? Too many kick drums. You get the idea, right? I'm just adding another layer with this. All right, I'm not recording right now. Let's play around a little bit. And I'm just going to start generating some random patterns, but with another electro beat along, the way. So the electro feel will remain while I do crazy stuff with the beat space. Why is it that every time I open it up, it sounds good? All right, let's hit record. I'm just going to keep going through randomizing until I hear something I like. You can undo, by the way. Like, oh, I like that one. Hit undo, it'll go right back to it. And if I think of this rather than layers of like a single loop, we could also just record this with effects on it, or put distortion or filtering or whatever. Let's see what happens if we destroy this a little bit. Put like some kind of, maybe a flanger phaser modulation kind of thing on it. Because I like it as a texture, just as a top loop, basically. Let's see. Okay. Definitely going for this. Everything I've been doing today that I've been responding to today has been kind of like this rolling. It's electro-y, but it's also kind of breaky rolling kind of a feel, which, it's a vibe. I like that. Let's see, does this kick have any big 808 subs in it? Doesn't look like it. It's got like music in it. This is meant for like finger drumming. I don't need any of that. There we go. All right, let's randomize again. Here we go. Beat space. Kind of has the same sound now. That's kind of cool. Actually, I want to hear that by itself for a second. Like, because the drums are tonal, you'll hear like a note. It'll sound like a bass line or a synth part. Again, that's another good reason to generate individual layers, having the separate outputs. Then I can go back and just isolate that and use it however I want. Nice. It's just about 2 o'clock. We'll go a little bit past 2. I can't go too much past 2 today, but since we started a little bit late, let's talk a little bit and see how you guys, let me know what you think about this beat space, about Microtonic. If you haven't seen it before, what do you think? Are you going to give it a try? I think it's just, I'm thinking of like pros and cons now. Like pros, it's easy, it's fun, it generates patterns really quickly. Cons, it sounds like a Microtonic. No matter what you do, it sounds like Microtonic. You're going to have to go in there and like tweak the sounds and add effects and kind of do some more detailed sound design with it to make it not sound like a Microtonic, or if you want it to be sort of more your style, your unique tone and flavor. And I mentioned earlier, like using this with, making techno with Christian Smith, we wouldn't use, the Microtonic wouldn't be our whole beat. I would use 1 or 2 sounds from the Microtonic combined with other drum sounds, with samples, with loops, with things like that. So, and these Sonic Charge, whatever they do with their sound engine, it's unique, it's distinctive, and you get to know it, right? So it almost always, like, especially using these algorithmically generated beats, it always sounds like microtonic. So if you like that, great. And I do. So I'm definitely going to keep doing this and use this to generate parts for new tracks. You guys in the chat are kind of talking about all sorts of stuff. Let's see. What did I see? Luminous Cloud saying needs descending pitch low tom. Do you mean like kind of making a melody out of the tom? That's a good idea. Dry Deather's talking about guitar modeling amp for rougher sounds. I mean, distortion, right, exactly. I'm going to put this comment up. Dry Desert says distortion seems important for techno, and it's an effect that plugins are bad at. I mean, I think it's just different. I mean, real analog distortion in hardware sounds different, and maybe an emulation gets close or close enough. I think, and there are so many different effects out there that can make distorted sounds. And then once you get into understanding in on a deeper level into how synthesis works, you can make sounds that are distorted, that have those harmonics in the waveforms, in the sounds, that don't actually have clipping or distortion. So it's all about learning how to, how sound works. And, you can have distortion like sounds, but you're not actually using a distortion circuit to generate it. And all of the above, it's all good, right? If you want to use external hardware to distort your synths, or you want to use crazy plugins, or I just so often find myself using the default effects in live just for speed and repeatability. I was talking about this the other day with someone here at 343 Labs, like all these plugins that we like, all these cool synths and effects plugins that you can get, but like for workflow and also to be able to keep your projects sort of compatible and with whatever system you're using over time, you're more likely to have a sound not load properly if you have gone, if you're using third-party plugins. A lot of times I'll take old tracks, old projects, and load them up again that I never finished, and load them up again 2 or 3 years later, and to see, oh, what was this any good that I never finished? And cross my fingers that it loads up properly, because it's like 2 or 3 versions of live ago, or 2 or 3 versions of a plugin ago, and the OS X is like changed, and like you never know if it's going to work. But what always works, almost always, except for some Max for Live devices, is the live devices, the native devices for the DAW, almost always work. And so if I rely on mostly those, I know that I'm going to have fewer compatibility problems in the future. But that's just a workflow thing for me. And how did I segue from analog versus digital distortion to that? Well, that's just how my mind works. It wanders every now and then. What else are you guys talking about here? Norman wants us to check out his latest track. Okay, Norman. If you didn't already know, sometimes we do feedback sessions on the stream. I owe you all an Electro feedback session, and due to life and various circumstances, the next one has not happened yet. It is going to happen soon. It's just I'm committed to getting a really awesome guest to do it with me, and that hasn't happened yet. So that I need to have like an Electro producer or someone who's really steeped in the world of Electro to do this with me, to give you the most, right? And it's not just me talking the whole time, and you get multiple perspectives, right? But yeah, we also do techno. We're going to do another techno feedback session, and I think I have someone for that. We just need to agree on the date, but that's going to happen soon. So anyway, if you've got a track you want to check out, even if we're not doing the feedback session live in the stream, you can join the 343 Labs Discord. There's a channel in there for me. You can post your track in there. I can't promise I'm going to be on it every day, but every now and then I pop in and see who's posted what, and I'll chime in and give you a few words of encouragement and some ideas of how you can move forward. So yeah, check us out there. There's a link below, I believe, to find the Discord. And if there isn't, Thomas, maybe put that up here in the chat if you're listening. Cool. Let's see. You guys are talking about convolution reverb, impulse responses. That is definitely a thing. I love using Live's convolution reverb, and also now their hybrid reverb has convolution combined with algorithmic reverb. So many interesting textures and tones and spaces to play with convolution. I definitely like running drums through convolution. I mean, I think of it as like a resonator as much as just a room or a space. So that's definitely, maybe we'll revisit convolution reverb in a stream sometime this year. I especially find that I use it a lot when I'm making big banging techno and I want to just have like, I mean, okay, you can add the rumble with the reverb. I'm not just talking about that. I'm just talking about making sounds that like really jump out of the speakers and like using certain types of reverb, and especially like convolution reverb because it has such an amazing character depending on, you know, what the impulse response is. You can get so many different variations in your space. It really helps a lot with that. So, you know what? I feel like, all right, I know there's more I could do with the microtonic. I wasn't sure if I was going to get into this today, but just for the last few minutes, let's go back to the main view here. And aside from trying out Beat Space, there was a new plugin that came out recently, and it had an initial low price, you know, an introductory price, which I missed, unfortunately. So now it's more expensive again, but I'm on the 90-day trial and I'm trying out this Cult synth from Dawson. Now, I'm not super, like, this is new to me. I somehow missed Dawson and stuff that's related to this plugin. There's some really cool plugins, it looks like. Somehow I kind of either missed or forgot about these plugins, but I like that. I like the vibe of this synth. I mean, all right, their interface is really cool, and I'm still wrapping my head around it, but it's got kind of a distinctive character. It's got a bunch of different complex oscillators, and it has this kind of chaos sort of modulation, like the sounds are always moving in crazy ways, and it reminds me of like Pendulate. It's a different sort of, it has this chaotic oscillator, and we've used it on the stream in the past. And so, yeah, I just literally downloaded this and installed it, and I was like, well, I haven't really spent any time with it. Do I want to stream with it? But I don't know. Why not? Let's have a listen to this. Let me make sure my MIDI track is active. And also what I'm going to do after having recorded all this random stuff, I'm going to go back to the preset that I started with earlier. Wait a minute. Now it's not finding it, but I have to go back to the user folder, I guess. All right. Presets. Okay. I don't want to bore you with me browsing around. Let's just we'll turn the microtonic off and we'll just use the basic beat going on with this guy. Right? I'm going to get rid of that sub shot. Just keep the simple beat going on. So we can play around a little bit with this synth. These are just some of the bass presets. It's got an arpeggiator built in, obviously. I'm going to turn that off, actually. All right, and what I'm noticing right away with the synth, it sounds very warm and rich, and you can see we've got these visuals for the complex oscillators, and like, it's very distracting. But you can hear, like, even when it's a simple sound, there's like this constant kind of movement within the waveform, and that's sort of the thing about these. If you right-click on this, these are all the different types of movement, the different types of complex oscillation that these waveforms can do, right? Let's go through some more presets. Now, one thing I noticed is, I mean, at least it doesn't, it doesn't ever sound, and I haven't gone through all the presets yet, but so far going through some pads and other sounds, mostly these bass sounds, it's dark. I'm not hearing like a lot of bright, crispy, sharp high end like you'd hear out of like a wavetable synth or I mean, I'm sure you can get it to do it, but it seems to have this kind of warm, rich fuzziness to it, which I actually really like. It's got a lot of growly, distorted kind of sounds. You know, the effects, if you look at the effects, they're actually, no, going into the filter has multiple stages of distortion. You can distort the sound going into the filter. You can distort the sound after going to the filter. It's also got a couple of comb filters for some resonating kind of stuff. And actually, a lot of the sounds, you'll get a lot of the character from frequency modulation and amplitude modulation. I'm looking for, there's a preset I was playing around with before, and I was trying to get it to like, get it really growly. All right. All right, that's not super exciting. I kind of want something that's moving a little bit more. That's nice. That's almost like Moog-like, with some feedback or something, but more resonant. All right, that's cool. Like that needs to be automated, or I need an envelope for that. And anyway, so I'm still learning how to use this thing. I'm going to bring it back onto another stream. I won't bore you with me learning how to use it right now, but I just thought I'd point it out. It's a cool new synth that I definitely want to get into and learn a little bit more about. And I think it's going to work really well for the kind of dark sounds and dark spacey sounds that I like for certain types of electro. So let's see. It's 2:12. I think we're going to call it a day. I just want to thank everybody again for being with us today. Now that we're back, we'll be back every week, and like as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do some feedback sessions. I've got some guests lined up to come in and hang out, so we'll keep you posted on that. Thanks again, everybody, for bringing us up to 30,000 subscribers. Really psyched about that. If you're interested to know a little bit more about upcoming courses, as I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, I've got synthesis courses starting at the end of this month that you can still join if you like. Of course, if you're not ready to dive into a full course right now, you can do 343 Studio. It's a low monthly subscription, and you can get one-on-one feedback sessions, mentorship. We have workshops that we do. Abe has his Ableton Dojo, which I recommend highly. So something else to think about doing. And of course, get in on our Discord. If you want to get some track feedback, you can go to my channel in the Discord and post stuff there. And we may feature it on an upcoming feedback stream. And anyway, I'll let you know when we're going to do the feedback stream to give you guys time to be ready with your tracks. And that's it. Thanks to everybody. Happy New Year. That's it for now. I'll see you next time. Adios.
when you're around.